Hey, I'm Liv.
Hi, I'm Patrick.
I am not into politics and haven't really been into politics in my life, but the climate as of late has made me want to get more involved.
And I used to be a lot more involved in politics and haven't been as much lately, mostly because I've been busy with work and other issues. But like Liv, I want to get back involved and try to help out where I can.
And today we are going to be hosting a meet and greet at the clubhouse in a townhouse complex for a U.S. Senate candidate.
And we thought we would talk to you today about doing something like that on your own and how you can get involved with a candidate or an issue of your choice. And meet and greets are a great way to help them or help the issue and an easy intro into a deeper world of politics.
And this is something that you can do as either an attendee or even hosting one by yourself.
And in addition to politics, I mean, like a house party or a meet and greet, this can apply to other issues, other subjects, other passions that you may have. So this is sort of a generic intro to how to host a house party.
So, first things first would be to find people that you know who might also be interested in the same thing and to invite them to co host with you. This is going to help you have more people to help you out with providing snacks or a location and also with spreading the word, and you have access to their social circle to come participate too.
Another thing to consider is the location where you're going to have it. A lot of times you can just host it at home. We live in a smaller townhome, so luckily the advantage of living in a townhome is there's a clubhouse that we can rent out. So we're doing that for ours. But by all means, a small gathering can be hosted in your home. Some other locations that might work are local restaurants. A lot of times they'll have free meeting rooms that you could use. Your library, maybe even in Firehouse, I've used one time. So be creative. Just look around in your community, and there's definitely lots of options if you don't want to host it at your home.
Did you say a firehouse?
Yes,
At a fire station?
at a fire station.
They let you have a meeting
they have
there?
a meeting room, and it
Really?
was free for community meetings.
Well, that's super cool. We should do that just because.
You didn't get to slide on the pole.
Oh, okay. But you were in the vicinity of the pole sliding and all
Yeah.
the cool stuff. Okay. We should have one down the road. They look really cool. Okay. Yeah, so if you're trying to conserve funds, which we totally understand and we are trying to do, our clubhouse was $40 to rent. But I know that places like IHOP, they have separate rooms oftentimes, or even Perkins has that. So you can just go in, order the food you want, and you have a private area that's a little more secluded for chatting and mingling and eating. Okay.
So once you have your location, you may be wondering like what would this all entail? Like what is going to happen at one of these meet and greets? And part of it depends on what the candidate or the issue that you're getting involved with. But it can be anything. It could be just a social mingle where people sort of gather, talk about different issues, very informal. Today we're going to probably have the candidate speak for 3 or 4 minutes and then answer questions from the audience. So it can really be just about anything. Another option would be to show a short film. It could be something a TED talk or a political documentary or whatever, and something to start discussion.
Do you ever do stuff like icebreakers, like icebreaker games or things like that?
I haven't ever been to one that had an icebreaker, but it's open to whatever you want to do. Some of it just depends on the atmosphere that you want to set. So you can make it informal, you can make it fun, however you want to set it.
I like fun. When you're starting off, you get your co-hosts involved, ask people if they're interested in doing this with you. Make sure that everyone knows what they're going to be involved with. In our case, we got certain kinds of food. Someone else got beverages. We're providing wine as well. So you can all split up what you're capable of doing, and you can write it off, right? You keep a tally of it.
If you're doing it for a political candidate, you cannot write it off.
Can't.
But you can mark it as a donation to the candidate so they can count that in their fundraising total. If you're working with a nonprofit on an issue, A lot of times they will be a nonprofit 501c3 or C4, and you can write that off as a tax deductible donation.
Cool. Good to know. So if you want, you can make this a themed event, a fun theme if you want. In our case, we happen to pick St. Patrick's Day, so we're going green. Pretty subtle, but that's our theme.
And we just added to the food theme by just doing St. Patrick's Day cookies. But it could be, we could have went all out with corned beef and hash, which is actually not Irish. But anyways.
The potatoes are, right?
Potatoes are.
Okay. Consider the logistics of what you're planning. In our case, our townhouse condominium has no parking accessible, so we are prepared. We have a couple people who are going to volunteer basically as hosts. We're going to have one person at least in the room to greet everyone, and then we're going to have a couple people at entrances to the complex, and we have the candidate on a flyer, and we're going to be waving it around, so if anyone is looking where to park and how to get to the location, we're prepared, because unfortunately they have to park and walk, and that's realistic. As part of the advertising, we did take advantage of the fact that it's going to be right here in our complex. So we printed out some details, and in our case, there's a little message board by our mailbox that we were able to cut this out and put that up at. So that's something to take advantage of.
And there's lots of ways to promote an event. I start with your circle of friends, let all of them know, and depends on your friends. It could be an email, it could be a phone call, or for a lot of our friends, we use a Facebook event and sent invites to that. Some of the ones that we thought might be excited about it, but obviously never responded to the Facebook invite, I followed up with a Facebook message. So you may have to hit people times and before they actually see things. Other options are Nextdoor, Craigslist, knocking door to door. Do whatever works for you. Again, common theme throughout this. But you can put it on Meetup. You can just find whatever works for you to get the word out.
We should have put it on Meetup.
I know.
Yeah.
I just thought about that.
Like, that's a great idea.
That's why I didn't say Meetup. I was like, I forgot Meetup.
Next time, when we do it at the firehouse. Knocking on doors. How does that go? Because I feel like for me, it was a little scary even messaging people privately saying like, hey, I'm doing this political thing. You should come hang out. So I tried to preface it by saying, I don't know how you lean politically, so if this isn't your thing, it's totally cool. Because it's an uncomfortable thing. Both doing that and then the idea of knocking on someone's door and sort of getting in their space and saying, would you like to come to this? And what if they don't politically feel the same way? Or
so if you're working with a political candidate, you can usually ask them for a walk list for your neighborhood. And they may work with you on some details, but they should be able to provide you with a walk list. So if you're supporting a candidate leans one way or the other, they can provide you with households that, first of all, have active voters and ones that lean the way that you do, so that when you're knocking on the door, it's a little bit more comfortable. But even if you're working on like an issue, say like they're building something in your near your neighborhood, and you want to have people over to discuss that issue, you can just knock on whatever doors. But whatever the case may be, knocking on doors can be an obstacle. I've done it in the past. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I found that the best time to knock on doors is when you're inviting people to something. So when they open the door, the few that actually will open the door to someone, you start off by saying, hi, I'm just here to invite you to blah, 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 blah. But as soon as you say that you're inviting them to something, it takes their guard down a little bit, and they're at least open to hearing the rest of what you got to say. If you start off with the issue or the candidate or something like that, they already have their no ready. But when you say, I'm just inviting you to a house party, would like you to come by Sunday afternoon, et cetera, they're usually pretty open and pretty friendly.
I assume you take flyers or something, so you could just give it to them and say, think about it, or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of times you should have some type of flyer to leave with them. And it's when you knock on the doors, you sort of have to use a judgment call. Like if it says no soliciting, some people will get upset if you are not selling something, but thinking like, I can still knock on a door because I'm just inviting to some. Some people will get upset. So might be better just to skip those doors. Just, how do you feel about it? And it also depends on if you have flyers, you can leave the flyers at the door. I wouldn't necessarily like open up a screen door and shove it in a mail slot or something like that. That can upset some people. But just leave it in a good spot. One word of caution: don't leave it in a mailbox. It's actually a federal law to put anything besides mail in a mailbox.
Whoa!
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's great to know. Okay, we need to like bold that somewhere. Oh man, and I think I've totally done that before. Like, remember when we did the Questival and it was do kind acts to strangers and we made little present packets?
Yeah.
I think we stuck them... No, we stuck them in their screen door, but...
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to
Not
jail
supposed
for
to.
giving someone presents.
Pretty much.
So these kind of events can just be to get to know the candidate, for people to have an opportunity to ask them questions or just see what they're like. It can also be a fundraising opportunity. And in our case, we're fortunate that the candidate is sending someone to handle that stuff for us. So that's always a good thing to reach out. I'm assuming you could reach out and get someone maybe to help.
Yeah, if you're working with the organization or a candidate, they'll usually have people that will support you in your efforts. So they may help publicize the event. The candidate we work with, they send out an email blast to their group of people in the area mentioning the event. They called yesterday, asked if we needed anything. They're bringing balloons, and they're bringing people to help with fundraising.
So we don't have to worry about taking money or anything like that.
No. So after your event, of course, it's just like any type of birthday party or something like that. It's sort of nice to follow up with people. Sometimes you may not be able to follow up with everyone because you don't have all their contact info. And in our case, more than likely, the campaign is going to follow up with people. But I still plan on reaching out to the people that came personally and thanking them for taking time to come by and see if they had any follow-up questions, see if they had any comments on how things ran. And it does a couple of things. Number one, it keeps the issue in their minds. And the other thing is like if something didn't go right, if you ran out of ice too soon or you didn't have the flavor of chips that they liked, and you call and ask people, how the event went for them, number one, they'll let you know it's good feedback. And then number two, they'll probably come away with a more positive outlook on what you were trying to get across and stop worrying about the chip flavor.
And then we can invite them to our Firehouse one, which will have the chips that they like. I'm really sorry.
Fire chips.
Fire chips. Ooh. Dorito Flaming Hot, right?
Right, that's what I meant. I couldn't think of the name.
But I knew where you were going.
So overall, I think the biggest tip is just don't stress over all the little details. Food, location, all of the other stuff really doesn't matter. If you have an issue that's important to you, that you care enough about to host the event, all the details really don't matter. You'll reach out, you'll have people over, they'll discuss the issue, they'll remember the issue, they'll support the candidate or not, at the end of the day. But just remember why you're there. It's for the issue, for the candidate, and all the other stuff is minor.
And I would say to not worry about hard sells. Just share the event that you created and why you're interested in doing this. And if people want to come, they'll come. If someone does not agree with you politically or about the issue that you're concerned with, don't push it. You can just put this out as a really low stress way for them to get involved or hear things and with no commitment. So no stress for you.
And to piggyback on top of that, one of the added benefits of doing something like this, sure, it's great to host the event and to get people there, but if you care about the issue, one of the significant boosts from doing something like this is that it lets your friends know, even the ones that say they're out of town or they can't make it, they know that you care about this issue or this candidate, and that alone is a big boost to what you're passionate about. So spreading the word is already a win for your issue.
Yeah. We do like slow motion. It's not as good if we're not jumping.
Which is my wife Liv. She will be behind the camera.
17 years ago to the day, Liv and I arrived in the United States.
It's not just finding someone that you agree with. It's finding someone that you agree with and can go get the job done. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Andrew up here and to.